My name is Sid Haas. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here at LKCS, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar on improving communication with your account holders. Obviously, these are unprecedented times. Well, we're hoping to all emerge from this virus. We don't exactly know what's coming next, and consistent communication, with your members and customers has never been more important or needed. I think we can all share that. So it's important for you to share your expertise. And clearly, you are your community's financial services expert, right? We know that money is a highly emotional subject. And if you do any research at all, you'll find that health and money are currently the two greatest sources of stress in people's lives. Probably not just currently, but definitely in recent months, they have been the two greatest sources of stress. And clearly everybody on the webinar today can help with one of those. Financial education will improve, your client's state of mind, and at the same time, make them more loyal to your financial institution. So timely, relevant, meaningful content to bring your members and customers up to speed on important topics that are changing rapidly is in your best interest. It's in your account holder's best interest, and it will benefit everybody involved. But you have to be honest, right? You have to be honest to yourselves. You have to be honest to your brand. You have to be honest to those account holders, because you don't know everything. And like I already said, none of us know what's coming next. And it's okay to say that you don't know. And it's okay to not be able to be everything for everyone, and lead people to appropriate resources whenever possible, even if your institution can't help directly. You may not have the product or service, that individual or that business needs at that moment in time, but you want them to come to you first, and you want them to know that you're going to lead them to the appropriate place and point them in the appropriate direction, even if you can't help them directly. So give them the best information that you have at the time. And if you don't know the answer, let them know that. Let them know that, you can get back to them and hopefully find that answer, even if you don't have the perfect solution for them at your institution. And if there's one key lesson that all businesses will learn from this pandemic, or have learned from this pandemic, not just banks and credit unions, it's that success depends on the digital solutions that we've implemented in all areas of operations. So increase your investments in those digital solutions. And when it comes to marketing, having a high-performing website is absolutely critical. So your website has to be your top priority. These are things that probably go beyond saying, but I'll continue to say it because your website has to be easy to update and maintain. It has to generate leads and new business, even in these challenging times. It has to provide an exceptional user experience. It has to be well designed and easy to use. And it has to be optimized for search, social, and mobile. All of those things. And if it doesn't meet all of these 5 bullet points, then you need to seriously consider, an investment in that website. One example of, digital solutions and investing in digital solutions is online mortgage lending, right? When we look at the typical bank or credit union and what they're doing for online mortgage lending, typically we'll see, a product list, we'll see a rates table, we'll see what I call a form-based application, and then a way to, just providing a way of providing contact information. whether it's a list of loan officers or phone number, whatever it might be. There's better solutions out there, right? We'll see websites with calculators. We'll see, a product selector, a way to at least, get some rate quotes based on what product makes the most sense. There might be some multi-step applications, so it takes that really scary, form and breaks it down into at least multiple steps. And then obviously we get into electronic, contact and lead generation forms. So we can make the process a little bit better. And then there's much better and best solutions, right? Where there's resources available to really explain those products and educate borrowers about what, these different mortgage options are and which ones really meet, their solutions the best. And there's lead generation calculators that not only help the borrowers, calculate payments, but forward that information to the bank and credit union, generate that contact information so they generate leads just when, borrowers are potentially calculating, those payments and trying to figure out which products make the most sense. Same thing with those rate quotes, right? As people are determining those rates and researching those rates, all of that information that they're collecting gets sent to those loan officers so that there's follow-up capabilities. There's that ability for borrowers to be pre-qualified, right, before applying. And then these systems also have that ability to make those applications much more friendly. So if you think of the way that you complete your taxes, you can complete the scary, 1099 or excuse me, the scary tax form, or you can, go to Quicken or any of the online solutions, or TurboTax, or any of the online solutions, and complete a friendly interview style, right, type tax form. Well, we can do the same thing with a mortgage application. So if you think of those types of experiences, which one would you prefer as a borrower? And you can see the difference with those digital solutions. And that's just one example. I mean, these exist across all sorts of different avenues. So you really need to look at where your weaknesses are in your digital solutions and begin to look at investing in kind of the worst of those to obviously improve across the board. And by the way, I'm not going to spend a ton more time on this at all, but the best platform that I'm talking about here doesn't cost more than those better systems, and we can provide more information on that. But my point about websites in general and these digital solutions is that all of your marketing, both online and offline, are going to drive people to your website. So anything that you're doing to communicate with, members or customers and prospects, they're going that marketing, that communication is going to drive people to your website. So that website has to be its absolute best, and that's really where your investment should be first. But here are some tips for your website, for COVID-19 and beyond, right? We've all learned about this, but I keep seeing websites that aren't doing a great job of communicating this information. We've seen some surveys, asking, account holders how well their banks and credit unions are doing it at disseminating this information, and it's not as good as I think, the marketers think it is. But what I think you hopefully have and have to have is obviously some kind of COVID-19 FAQ page. Right? People are looking to see what changes you've made to your operations. How are you keeping everybody healthy? What are your policies regarding face masks? Some of those have changed and they might change again, right? And then obviously for businesses, right? That information is changing so rapidly, or everybody's waiting for the next government program potentially. Business owners are desperate to keep up with that. Keeping a page, on your website updated with this business information, a resource where business owners can go. And what about offering that ability for them to subscribe to email updates? They're trying to keep their businesses going, especially the smallest, the smallest business owners. What about sending that information to them, letting them subscribe to it so that whenever you make a change to that page, they know that there's an update? It's not that hard to do. Financial hardship, right? You have programs out there, have that information on a special page so that people that need that help can go find it. Explain the changes relating to IRAs and loan repayments and all those different programs that people can take advantage of. Forms, applications, and appointments. It still amazes me how many paper forms are out there. I was talking to one of our clients this morning about that, but don't make people come into your facility just to fill out a form. The process today of building web forms and applications is much easier than it was even just a year or two ago. Provide that ability for your account holders to complete all of that paperwork online. There are systems out there, and we'll talk about this, that you can actually build these forms yourselves. Provide the ability to schedule appointments or online meetings right through your website, so people know they're not going to have to stand in line when they come to your branches, that there's somebody that's got a time slot scheduled to meet with them. They love that convenience, and your staff is going to love knowing that this member or this customer is due in at this specific time to meet with them about this very specific thing. Calculators, there's all sorts of very, very high quality calculators. Many of them are getting much better looking than they've been in the past, but give those users tools to help themselves and educate themselves. There's business calculators. There's calculators on every financial topic that you might that you can even imagine that are out there, and they're really not very expensive at all. And I think one of the key things about websites in general is make sure that there's no dead ends on your website, that every page of your website enables a user to take some sort of action. Don't leave them hanging. At a very minimum, provide a contact form, but make sure that no page is a dead end, that they all lead to providing more information, leading to some kind of form, some kind of application, some kind of appointment scheduling system, anything like that, because people aren't going to come back. They're not going to go looking. They're just going to go to a competitor. Another key point for you at times like this is not to cut marketing. There's all sorts of pressures on your budgets. At a corporate level, I understand that. But here's a great story, to share with your CEOs and your boards. Before the Great Depression, Post was the dominant brand in breakfast cereals by far. They had to cut costs heading into the Depression, but they were comfortable with their position. They were way ahead of everybody else in the market, so they sharply reduced their marketing budget. Similar to the banking industry, their pricing was about the same as, in this case, Kellogg's cereal, but nobody knew about Kellogg's. They were, I don't exactly know the ratio, but they were way ahead in market share. Kellogg's was a much smaller rival, but they took the opportunity to devote as many of their resources as possible to increase marketing where Post cut marketing. So their marketing actually led people to buy Kellogg's cereal just to try it. And here's the thing, people liked it and continued to buy Kellogg's cereal even after the Great Depression. And since the late 1930s, Kellogg's took the lead and Post has never caught back up. That's the power of marketing. And the reason that you really can't afford, it's the easiest expense to cut, but it's a dangerous thing to do. So let's head back to the purpose of the webinar and how to obviously better communicate with your account holders. So you need to be relevant and you need to be personal. And your goal with your communications needs to be to communicate and reassure your members and your customers on a one-to-one basis. People want to hear that you are there to work through things with them together. You need to show empathy, right? And you need to show compassion. So it's not all about sales right now, clearly. And the way that you're going to do that is through segmentation. So segmentation is critical right now. And that's not that easy for all of you. So it really just depends on what systems you have in place. So you can obviously start, and I'll show you lots of examples or several examples of segmentation, but you can start just by separating your commercial accounts from, your retail or consumer accounts, and then look at your data. What do you have? What's easy to get? But the key is to use that data. So here are some examples of some target messaging and usually some data points that are not that hard and should be fairly easy for you to get. So look at age, right? Look at age of your account holders, because a pre-retirement boomer has very different needs than that millennial that may have just lost his or her job, or one that has a job but hasn't even started to think about saving any money. And obviously, what about considers, offering special service hours for the elderly, right? We've seen it in the grocery stores and the big box stores. I haven't seen it yet at any banks or credit unions. Deposit balances, right? We can communicate differently with those low balance holders versus the high balance carriers. What about looking at changes in account balances, right? Pre-pandemic versus now, to reach out to those in need, see if there's a huge difference, and who is holding what. If people are dipping into their savings, what can we do to help them? Credit card debt, right? Who's carrying much more credit card debt now? Or who do we see with a rising credit card debt balance? Can we convert those balances to home equity lines or a better, use of debt, consolidate debt? How can we help these people again, help their financial situations, help, our banks and credit unions? What can we do? CDs, right? Let people know about the flexibility with early withdrawals, suggest CD laddering to those high balance carriers, keep some of that money. Obviously now with the stock market fluctuations, things like that. There's opportunities for us to communicate effectively with, these account holders. And you can communicate across a variety of media. So this obviously isn't all of the media at your disposal, and not all of this is appropriate for today. So adjust your marketing mix for today. And be careful, because just because the online, section here, the online column has more options doesn't mean to only use digital channels. I would not recommend that. Different people are going to be easier to reach in different ways. And we're all kind of getting overwhelmed sometimes in online. So let's talk about some of these channels, some of these options, some of the differences right now, with COVID and how that's affecting the use of these channels. So radio, and I've just kind of picked some of these, are kind of the most popular ones that I see, for banks and credit unions out there. Radio, the pros are that you can target your ads, to a specific audience based on, each station's format. Radio is a very local medium other than digital radio, but even then it can be targeted locally. Radio commercials can be produced very, very quickly. And it's much less expensive, obviously, to run and produce than TV ads. Cons, drive times when we look at traditional radio, even digital radio, drive times are prime. It's traditionally when people listen, but it's also when all businesses want their ads to run. Radio is often what I call background noise, right? Your ad will need to run often to make an impact. So you want to, quote unquote, dominate that drive, right? Dominate that drive period. And ads really do vanish as soon as they're played. They There's not, unless you have a really, really creative, radio spot. They don't have a lot of staying power. There's a ton of competition, right? There's a lot of stations in most markets. Obviously, now you're up against satellite radio, you're up against music streaming services, all of those types of things. And now when we think about, the coronavirus insights, no one's really driving during the drive times. We're seeing people going back to work now. Not everybody, right? There's still a lot of people staying at home. So are people even listening to the radio right now? I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure if you ask the radio stations, they'll tell you one thing. It's one of those things where you're really going to have to, I think, ask account holders that you're talking to that are coming in, that are calling in, things like that. Radio budgeting, if you don't do a lot of radio advertising now, ad production costs are typically free if you work with your local stations, but can cost anywhere between $300 and $1,000 if you hire out copywriting and voice talent and those types of things. Airtime costs vary on a variety of factors as well, but typically it will average between $500 and $5,000 per week, depending on your location. Obviously, depending on the size of your institution and the size of your market, that may or may not be accurate. But you'll want to focus typically on one day part, what I call a day part, again, whether it's a specific drive time, over lunch, but, some type of limited time period within a day, and advertise with good frequency during that day part. So, at least 3 spots within that, specific time slot, Monday through Friday. So if we look at direct mail, pros of direct mail is extremely accurate targeting based on demographics, income, credit criteria, homeowner data, account data that you have. There's business lists, there's specialty lists, as far as interests, and there's new household lists. Direct mail gives you a lot of room, right? I mean, you can have large mail pieces to provide detailed information. You can include your reply cards and disclosures and, a lot of space for your messaging. It can be obviously personalized. You can easily track delivery and response rates. And people get too much email right now. We're all inundated with email. And Gen Z in particular, they love direct mail. So a really well-timed and well-designed direct mail piece, they're doing extremely well right now. Cons of direct mail is postage. Postage costs add up. And response rates can be low if the mail piece and offer, aren't well thought out. COVID, a walk out to the mailbox is like a vacation right now. There's still a very high percentage of Americans at home. I did the presentation. I put this together a few weeks ago. Back then, over 90% of Americans were at home. Now it's probably a little bit less, but I still think the majority of Americans are at home. We're definitely receiving much less mail than we have been, and we're reading it at much higher rates than ever before. So think of yourselves and your experience with paper mail. It's a huge opportunity right now that I think most marketers are missing. Direct mail budgeting. So direct mail costs obviously can vary by quantity, by list source, by different printing parameters, right? Production specifications, and obviously how it's mailed, right? The postage class. Just to give you some ideas, at LKCS, a full color personalized letter will cost you about $1.30 to design, print, and mail, including postage and all of the different costs that go along with that. So, online advertising, right? If we talk about like Google ads, those types of things. Pros are your ads can be visible all day, every day of the week. You can promote multiple products and services to different prospects. You can test multiple ad designs, lots of different messaging simultaneously, right? Google will automatically pick which ads perform the best for you. You have very flexible budgeting with preset limits, so you don't have to worry about, overspending that budget, and very measurable results, right? Everything's available to you in a nice, hopefully easy to digest dashboard, but Obviously, partners can help you understand all of those results. And retargeting capabilities allow you to follow people who visit your website. So you have lots of flexibility, lots of kind of follow-up capabilities with that retargeting as well. Cons to online advertising is there's a lot of competition in some markets and for some keywords. So, if you're looking for mortgage loans or auto loans in a dense market, there's going to be significant competition, and those costs are going to be a little bit higher. There's a lot of options. Campaigns can get complicated to manage as well, especially if you're new, in the world of online advertising. And success really depends on the quality of your website landing pages. So it goes back to not just the quality of your website in general, but specifically to the pages that you're driving people to from those online ads. And obviously, consumers can ignore ads or avoid clicking on them. So, which does happen. Not all the time, but again, it comes back to how well your ad is crafted, A/B testing, all of those types of things. But right now, ad costs are lower than they have been. So while search and social media activity are both higher. So, you've got the best of both worlds. Costs are lower, activity is higher. So it's a great time to jump in, and do some online advertising, or do more online advertising if you're already doing some. Search engine advertising, is similar. Pricing is based on what you're willing to pay per impression or per click. Ads are shown to people, this is the same thing for search engines. Ads are shown to people actively searching for keywords and search terms that match your business interests. So you can, advertise based on your company and brand names, your products and services. And then obviously you want to look at those long-term keywords, really focusing on people's needs and actions, because people are going to be searching, based on what they actually need or what actions they're intending to take. And that's more and more true, especially with voice searches. So you can see some of those, examples there. And obviously with search engine advertising, it's an auction, right? The more you pay, the higher you appear in those search results. Ad quality does matter. It will have some effect on that. But basically, the more you pay, the higher you're going to appear. And clearly those paid search ads, this is what they look like inside of Google. They will have the little ad indicator next to them. And the organic listings, which is just based on, the SEO aspects of your website, will appear below those. So there's typically going to be 3 or 4 ads, in good markets, in high density markets that'll appear above those organic listings, based on what the search term is. Display ads are a little bit different than those keyword-based ads. So unlike search ads, display ads are graphical ads, right? They're not just text-based. And in this case, Google and Bing and Facebook will rent small spots on millions of websites where your ads can be displayed. And with display ads, you're actually targeting by age, gender, interests, topics, and even selecting individual websites where you want your ads to appear. So you're not just selecting specific keywords and search terms. And display ads are where you can enable that retargeting. So if somebody visits your website, and then you want to be able to, they visit a page on mortgage loans, or they visit a page on auto loans, they visit a page on checking accounts, you want to then show them ads relating to that product, you're going to show them display ads. So those display ads come in a variety of different sizes and formats, and they literally show on millions of websites. So you can target those ads based on general interests, or you can target those ads again based on somebody that visited your website showing interest in a particular product or service. So online ad budgeting, ad production costs are typically included like in agency fees. Ads can be produced at very low costs. And then there will be web development costs, for landing pages if you needed a landing page created. Ad budgets themselves can really be set at any amount you're comfortable with. Daily or monthly limits can be put in place, and you can set maximum bid amounts for those pay-per-click campaigns. The average cost per click on Google is $2.32. That's an average, right? If you're, again, in an urban market and you want to bid on a term like mortgage loans, that $2.32 is probably going to be, $12. It might even be $23. So it just depends on, your market and what term you're looking for. Again, those longer tail keywords, those search phrases, are more affordable, and they actually sometimes have more activity as well. So you really need to do some research and work with, somebody that has some experience doing this thing. Social media marketing is similar to search engine marketing. Pros are that you've got a massive potential audience. You can reach all demographics, in social media. So it's not just the younger demographics as some people think, and it's easy to target different interests. Advertising on social media is inexpensive, and it can be very, very effective as well. Cons are that there is some reputation risk, right, with social media. You all know that reputation risk is manageable. It does take time, dedication, and some money, right? Social media is not free. And there's many different social media networks, so you can't be on all of them. Typically, when we talk about social media marketing, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about Twitter, and we're talking about LinkedIn to start with. Changes obviously are quickly, changes happen quickly and constantly. And there's a recent movement clearly to stop advertising on social media because of hate speech and misinformation. You've all seen that in the news, in the last week or two. COVID-19 insights, there is no better place than social media to publish educational content and community outreach. And ad costs on social right now are much lower than they have been, and social media activity is much higher than it has been. If you have not advertised yet in social, you really need to look at it. Facebook does have some, specific requirements for financial institutions and some limitations when it comes to advertising specifically for loans. But again, there's ways to do it, and it can be highly effective. But even without advertising, there's some terrific social media successes out there. And you don't have to have a huge budget to do some cool things. And I want to show you two examples from PNC Bank that I think are really, really neat and that any bank or credit union of any size can do. So they have their employees, they had their employees at least, I don't know if they still are, working from home, right? Like we all did or still are. But while their employees were working from home, they actually had them record some Zoom videos of using their, online banking and digital banking products. In this case, just, this employee was just recording a video showing how to set up, email and text message alerts. These are not professionally recorded videos. They obviously, they did a little bit of minor editing to them, but super low budget. They probably have about 20 of them out there. Go to their Facebook page, take a look at them. Super easy to do and super helpful to their customers. They probably bought a couple of little backdrops that you can see that you can buy on Amazon for about $30. Popped them up behind these people sitting at home and just let them record Zoom videos. Great idea. Second thing they did, now obviously they have some celebrity spokespeople for the bank. You don't have to have celebrities do this. In this case, they had Scott Dixon, who's a race car driver, reading a book, to kids out there. But I just think it's a terrific idea, right? Our kids are at home, they're bored, all those types of things. What about partnering with a local library or a local, a school teacher, something like that, buying a supply of books for them in exchange for them, just reading a book once a week, to the kids in your community. And I think those types of things can go viral at very low cost. I just think it's a great idea. And again, they've got a series of these posted on their website. So 2 ideas that you can take away and hopefully do something with. I just thought they were both really, really good. And there's tons of other ideas out there from, other banks and credit unions, but these types of things can be done without, massive budget expenses. Just neat ideas that you can use during this pandemic. Social media budgeting, I always call the social media industry a $0 billion industry because costs are sometimes difficult to capture as time is spread out in small chunks, right? You're typically not going to spend a large chunk of time on social media. You're going to do it in little small tidbits here and there when you have a few minutes. But estimate at least 10 hours a week for social media content development and management. The larger your institution, the more time you're going to spend. But you need a tool for social media publishing, monitoring, and reporting. And you're going to budget at least $200 a month for a good tool. Sometimes more, sometimes quite a bit more than that. There are several tools out there. Similar to advertising on Google, Facebook ad costs can vary, but you can set your ad budget for each campaign. On average, Facebook ads cost 97 cents per click. So remember, Google was about $2.32, I think it was, something like that. So you can see that Facebook is less than half, and about $7.19 per 1,000 impressions. So Facebook is still a bargain play, and that cost's probably gone down now due to the pressure that's on them. And I do think they're going to quickly adapt their policies. Email marketing. So, email is simple and inexpensive. I'm amazed at the number of banks and credit unions that are not sending email messages and quality email messages at that. Email has the benefit of instant delivery, right? You can use custom fields and tags to easily segment and personalize your email communications. And there's automatic compliance with anti-spam regulations. Email is brand and mobile friendly, so you don't have to worry about that either. Cons are we do get too much email, right? So this leads to low open rates and lower read rates, although I still see, for our banks and credit unions, email read rates and open rates, in the 30 to 40% range all the time. It's sometimes hard to get financial emails past spam filters, but if you're sending email regularly and you're sending them to account holders, that's usually not a problem. People do have what I call disposable email addresses, so you constantly kind of have to update, your data. But you have your account holders' email addresses, in your online banking platforms and things like that. So it's not a difficult thing. It's just kind of continual maintenance. COVID-19 insights are there's email overload. So your content has to be good and your subject line has to be exceptional, right? To get people to read your email right now. So there is a lot of email being sent. We all get a ton of it. And you just have to make yours a little bit better, now to make an impact. But email is really inexpensive. Pricing is based on the number of email contacts, unique email addresses that you have, not the number of emails that you send. So you can literally send an unlimited number of messages per month. I wouldn't recommend that. You don't want to, send just a crazy number of messages because it's really about the quality of messages that you send than the quantity. But most systems start at about $75 per month. So it's not the cost of the system, it's the cost of developing the content. Similar to social media, right? Marketing automation is email marketing's big brother, right? So for those of you that are successful at email marketing, marketing automation is really the next step. So you can automate your email activities, and you can follow up on initially that email activity, right? So who's reading your emails, who's clicking on your emails, but then take the next step. You can automate follow up on web page visits. So you'll know which of your account holders are visiting different web pages and trigger automated emails based on that. And automated text messages and automated Facebook ads and lots of other things potentially. But You can automate follow-up based on form submissions, even incomplete form submissions. So incomplete, website applications and forms, those types of things. Follow up on event registrations, follow up, automate your new account holder onboarding, automate emails and contacts of product and service interests. So somebody fills out a reply card at one of your events, or just lets a frontline staff member know, or calls in about, looking for information on this, or checking rates, or any of those types of things, indicates some kind of level of interest, and you can automate follow-up with that, and then move people through a funnel, basically, to drive them towards opening that account or applying for that loan or whatever it might be. And automate follow-up based on life events. So you all know different things about different account holders, different customers, different members. Use that information as you learn about it. These systems make it as easy as just applying a tag to an individual member or individual customer. And then you have these activities that are pre-staged to kick in based on that information. The advantage is that these are highly personalized communications and always relevant, because they're triggered based on what you know about that individual at that point in time. The cons are that there's a lot of email content to develop, right? If you think about all these different things you want to follow up on, it's not something that you're not going to sit down and write 100 emails in a day. You're going to build this up over time. So it takes time and work to get this going. You pick your low-hanging fruit first, right? The most important things that you want to start following up on, and you start building it up over time. And it does require some interdepartmental coordination, right, and buy-in. So the marketing department's going to drive it, but you're probably going to need some data from IT, and you're probably going to need some information from lending, and you're probably going to need some information from, frontline staff, and, coordination across departments. So it's an initiative here, but it's well worth the time and investment to do it. Cons are, the COVID-19 insights are, it's too late to start this right now, right? To really take advantage and get this to kick in, for the coronavirus. But it's definitely an initiative worth investigating, because had you had this in place 3 months ago, 6 months ago, it would be paying huge dividends for you, right now. Pricing similar to email marketing is also based on the number of email contacts that you have, but there's additional options, based on the different platforms. So whether you need a CRM, whether you want to include text messaging or online chat, again, it's not really about the cost of the system as much as, the cost of the content, and then some of these other options as well. So the system started about $125 a month. They can go up pretty quickly from there, but the ROI is very, very strong if these systems are used well. Text messaging, again, we see very few of our clients that are using text messaging, and I'm always amazed by it, because people love text messages. 98% of SMS text messages, right, your standard text messages, are read. 90% of them are read within 3 minutes. Those stats blow email out of the water. 85% of consumers prefer text messages over emails or phone calls. So your account holders want to receive text messages, and you're not sending them. And they hardly take any time at all for you to put together, because they're not very long, right? The con is that they're not very long, right? Content has to be brief, because you're not going to send a book. People don't want to receive long texts. And you have to limit the number of marketing-related text messages you send. So people will prefer to receive text messages, but they're not going to want to receive a text message from you every day, right? They'll be happy for you to send alerts to them and customer service replies if they text you something. Obviously, those are welcome as often as needed, but the number of marketing-related text messages you send have to be very limited. But when you send them, you can get very, very good results. Opt-in is required for marketing-related text messages, but it's not difficult to get. COVID-19 insights, text messages are the fastest way to get a message out, right? Remember this first stat up here. And now is a great time to start building your opt-in list. It's super easy right now to say, hey, we really want to start, text messaging our customers or our members because we know how important it is to communicate, now during these types of times. Here's a way for you to opt in to our list. And it can be as easy as just, having them text to a keyword, having them fill out an online form, having them check a box on a paper form. There's lots of different ways to get them to opt in. Reply to an email. I mean, there's just tons of different ways you can do it. Text message budgeting, pricing for dedicated text messaging service is based on the number of text messages you send. So unlike email, it is based on the volume of text messages you actually send. And it begins at about $50 to $75 per month, and that's only for 1,000 text messages. The message cost or the cost per message goes down significantly as the volume goes up. And know that some email marketing systems and most marketing automation platforms include text messaging capabilities. So as you look at, possibly starting up email marketing or moving into marketing automation, look at what text messaging, capabilities those systems have, because you might be able to use one platform to do both. Online chat. Very easy to add online chat to your website. All traffic is secure and encrypted. We get that all the time. Oh, it's not secure. Yes, it is. It's completely secure and encrypted. Your chat agents, right, your frontline staff, are able to answer chats while working on other tasks. So it's not like, you don't necessarily need to have dedicated chat agents unless you're a very large credit union. All chat content is archived, so it can be reviewed for quality assurance and those types of things. And your chat can be automatically turned off and even hidden from your website when no one is available. So cons are that chat agents must react quickly, right? When somebody wants to start a chat with you, they're not going to wait for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, right? They want to get an answer quickly. Chat requests by nature do interrupt other work, but that's not unlike when somebody walks in to the bank or credit union or calls, that they interrupt people. Chats are typically only available to account holders during business hours, so it's a limited time frame. That's where chatbots come in there. So they're becoming more popular. And even in banking, they're becoming more popular, but they're typically not able to answer those, account-specific questions, right? Unless you're looking at a high investment, to be able to answer questions like, what's my balance? So COVID-19 insights are online chat's a great option to consider. We had clients that quickly adopted online chat, as soon as they closed or just had drive-up access to their branches, even doing things just like Facebook Messenger, which is secure, by the way. Not the best option, I don't think, for online chat because it doesn't have like the archival capabilities, but it's a quick and easy way to adopt some kind of chat functionality. But there's better ones that are out there. Online chat budgeting. Pricing is typically based on the number of agents, right? Those member and customer service people that actually answer chats. There are additional options, such as those chat bots. If you want that ability to do screen sharing or video chat, that may affect the cost. But you're typically looking, depending on which platform you adopt, at about $30 to $60 per agent per month. So not tremendously expensive. And again, your account holders may very well appreciate that channel of service. So with all of those marketing options that are out there, it really depends on your follow-up to make the best use and really, improve your success. Because whatever marketing options you choose, leads are going to come in. And it's what are you going to do with those leads and how you're going to track those opportunities. So whether those leads come in via online forums or social comments or emails or phone calls or even visits and appointments, how are you going to follow up on those leads? So post-crisis, I think there's a few initiatives that you really can consider, right? One is to create account holder profiles based on customer types and product and service usage and demographics and relationship length and channel preference. Really get that data honed in so that you can personalize that marketing going forward and do that in better ways. And then identify the right time to make those personalized recommendations. So you kind of get your data in order and then use it, right? Follow up then with automation. So we talked a little bit about marketing automation and the capabilities that you have. But once you get your data in order and then figure out ways that you can potentially use it, then you can automate a lot of that follow-up. And then you can, when you're focusing on that follow-up, use that follow-up to focus on demonstrating features, not just pushing product. So you can offer demos and videos and different things to explain how those features are going to benefit the user. And all of those things, when they're well-timed and directed towards the user at the right time, because you're personalizing that content based on what you know about those account holders, are really going to lead to success. So that is the information that I prepared for you today. I am available to answer questions, for the next few minutes. I'm available to have further in-depth discussions with you at any time about any of the suggestions that I made about any of these, different solutions. Feel free to call me, email me, reach out on social media, anything like that. Again, I want to thank you for your time today. I appreciate the opportunity to present this information, and I hope it was beneficial. So thank you very much.